Have you ever tried to walk away from someone and felt like your chest was being pulled back toward them? Like letting go of that one person feels almost impossible, even when deep down you know they're not right for you. You tell yourself it's love. You tell yourself that maybe you just care too deeply. Maybe you're too loyal. Maybe you're just not strong enough to leave. But what if the real reason it feels so hard to let go has nothing to do with love at all? What if what's keeping you tied to them is something far more powerful? Something psychological, emotional, and deeply human that most people never realize. Because the truth is, sometimes we don't stay because we love someone. Sometimes we stay because of the hope of who they could have been, the memories of who they once were, or the fear that if we let them go, a part of us will disappear too. And that's exactly what we're going to uncover today. Why letting go of this person feels so painful. Why your mind keeps pulling you back even when your heart knows better. And the hidden reason your brain mistakes this attachment for love. By the end of this video, you might see your situation and that person in a completely different light. And once you see it, you may finally understand why letting go has felt so impossible. 1. The person you can't let go of. You tell yourself it's over. You delete the messages. You archive the photos. You promise yourself that this time you're really done. But then something strange happens. At 2 a.m., your mind goes back to them again. Not the fights, not the pain. Your mind replays the good moments, the laugh you shared, the way they looked at you that one evening, that one message that made your entire day. And suddenly, your chest feels heavy again. You ask yourself the same question many people secretly ask. If this person hurt me so much, why can't I just let them go? Your friends may say, just move on. You deserve better. Forget them, but they don't understand something important, because what you're feeling doesn't feel like a simple breakup. It feels like something deeper, almost like you lost a part of yourself. And that's the moment where most people make a mistake. They tell themselves, I must still love them. But here's the uncomfortable truth that very few people talk about. Sometimes the reason you can't let go has nothing to do with love. Sometimes it's something far more powerful and far more dangerous, because the person you're struggling to release was never just a person. They became your hope, your validation, your emotional escape. And once someone occupies those spaces in your mind, letting them go doesn't just feel like losing a person. It feels like losing the version of yourself that existed with them. And that's why even when the relationship was toxic, even when you know it was unhealthy, your mind keeps pulling you back. Not because you want the pain, but because your brain is trying to recover something it believes it needs to survive emotionally. And this is where the real story begins. Because once you understand what your mind is actually holding on to, everything starts to make sense, and you'll finally see why letting go of this person feels almost impossible. But before we uncover that truth, there's something you need to recognize first: the illusion that kept you emotionally trapped from the very beginning. 2. The illusion that made you believe it was love. If it wasn't love, then why does your heart still hesitate every time you think about leaving? Here's the part nobody talks about. Letting go feels hard because your mind has been trained to confuse intensity with connection. With them, everything felt intense. The highs were very high, the lows were painfully low. One day they made you feel like the most important person in the world, and the next day you felt invisible. But that emotional roller coaster did something dangerous. It wired your heart to crave the drama, not because you enjoy pain, but because your brain started chasing the good moments that came after the bad ones. Those small moments when they were suddenly kind again, those rare times when they apologized, Those nights when they acted like the person you always hoped they could be. And every time that happened, your heart whispered, "See? Maybe this time it will be different." So you stayed. Not because the relationship was healthy, but because you were waiting for the version of them that only appeared occasionally and slowly. Without realizing it, you stopped loving the person in front of you. You started loving their potential, the person you imagined they could become, the future you built in your head, the story where everything finally works out. And that's the trap. Because when you try to walk away, it doesn't feel like you're losing a toxic relationship. It feels like you're losing the dream you built around them. You're not just letting go of a person. You're letting go of the late-night conversations you imagined, the peace you thought you would finally have, the version of life where they suddenly understand your worth. And that's why your chest feels heavy when you think about leaving, because your heart is mourning something that never fully existed in the first place. But deep down, something inside you already knows this. That quiet voice in your mind, the one that started whispering, "This isn't healthy anymore. You deserve something calmer than this. Love shouldn't make you feel this tired." At first, you ignored that voice. You defended them. You explained their behavior. You told yourself they were just going through a difficult time. But eventually, reality becomes impossible to ignore. You begin to see patterns, the same arguments, the same apologies, the same promises that never really change anything, and slowly, the illusion starts breaking. That's when the hardest truth appears. The thing that hurts the most isn't losing them. It's realizing how long you stayed hoping they would become someone else. And once that realization begins, there's no way to unsee it. But what happens next is the moment that truly changes everything, because the day you finally see the truth is also the day your heart begins preparing to let go. 3. The real psychological reason people stay stuck even after they know the truth. So if you already know deep down that this relationship isn't healthy, why does your heart still refuse to fully walk away? Because letting go of them doesn't just mean losing a person, it means facing something much deeper. It means confronting the emotional investment you poured into them for so long. Think about it. All the time you gave, all the patience you showed, all the nights you stayed up trying to fix things. You didn't just love them, you fought for them. You believed in them when things were falling apart. You defended them when others questioned their behavior. You convinced yourself that your loyalty would eventually make things better. And the longer you stayed, the harder it became to admit something painful. What if all of that effort didn't change anything? This is where the mind plays one of its most powerful tricks. Psychologists call it the sunk cost effect. Because leaving feels like admitting that all those years, all those tears, all that hope didn't lead where you thought they would. So instead of leaving, people hold on, not because they're happy, but because they don't want to believe they spent so much of their heart on something that wasn't right for them. And that's where the real emotional battle begins. Your mind starts seeing the truth, but your heart keeps remembering the moments that once felt beautiful, the way they smiled at you in the beginning, the memories that still feel warm when you think about them, the version of the relationship that existed before everything became complicated. Your brain stores those memories like little emotional photographs, and every time you think about leaving, those memories appear and whisper, "But what about the good times? What if things could go back to the way they were? What if you're giving up too soon?" And suddenly your certainty starts shaking again. But here's the truth that changes everything. Those good memories were real, but they were moments, not the whole story. A healthy relationship doesn't only feel good in small flashes, it feels safe, stable, and peaceful most of the time. It doesn't constantly make you question your worth. It doesn't leave you emotionally exhausted. It doesn't make you feel like love is something you have to earn. And the day you begin to understand that, something powerful happens inside you. You stop asking, "Why is it so hard to let go of them?" And you begin asking a much more important question. Why did I feel like I had to hold on so tightly in the first place? That question leads to a deeper realization. Sometimes the reason we struggle to leave is because we were hoping that if they finally loved us the way we deserved, it would heal parts of our heart that were hurting long before they ever appeared. But real healing doesn't come from someone finally changing. It comes from the moment you realize your worth was never something that needed to be proven to begin with. And when that realization finally lands, letting go no longer feels like losing someone. It starts feeling like finding yourself again. And that is where the real story begins. And here's the moment most people never talk about. The moment when you finally realize the truth about why letting go felt impossible. One day, something inside you quietly changes, not because they suddenly apologized, not because they finally understood your pain, but because you get tired. Tired of explaining your feelings, tired of hoping they will become the person you imagined, tired of fighting for a relationship that always feels one step away from breaking. And in that quiet moment, a powerful realization begins to grow. The reason it was so hard to let go was never really about love. It was about hope. Hope that they would change. Hope that the beautiful beginning would come back. Hope that one day they would finally see your worth. But hope can sometimes keep us stuck in places that slowly break us, because we start loving the potential of someone, not the reality of who they truly are. You're holding on to a dream of what the relationship could have been, but real love doesn't live in dreams. Real love lives in consistency. It shows up in small, everyday actions, in respect, in peace, in the feeling that you don't have to constantly prove your value. And when you finally experience that kind of love one day, you will look back at this chapter of your life and understand something very important. You weren't weak for struggling to let go. You were simply human. You cared deeply. You believed in people. You fought for something that mattered to you. And that says a lot about the strength of your heart. But the strongest hearts eventually learn one difficult truth. Sometimes loving someone means walking away from them, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself too. And the moment that shift happens, letting go no longer feels like losing someone important. It feels like setting your heart free from something that was slowly holding it back, and maybe, just maybe, someone watching this video right now is going through this exact moment. Maybe you're lying awake at night asking yourself, why is it so hard for me to leave? If that's you, remember this. The pain you feel doesn't mean it was true love. Sometimes it simply means you gave your heart to someone who didn't know how to hold it. And that's not your failure. That's your lesson. Because the day you finally choose yourself is the day your life begins to move toward the love you actually deserve. So if this story felt a little too familiar, if parts of it sounded like your own experience, take it as a quiet reminder. Your heart deserves peace. Your love deserves respect. And you deserve someone who doesn't make you question your worth. And if this message spoke to you, write in the comments, "My heart deserves peace." Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might need to hear this today. Because sometimes one simple message can help someone finally find the strength to let go.